Okay, we're recording.
So just a brief overview of our agenda today. We're gonna just take some time to introduce ourselves to each other. And then since I think everyone's kind of read that document, maybe just do a real brief summary or any questions or comments about our vision going forward. And then we're gonna just update you on what we think are priorities, and then hopefully you guys will offer some feedback there and maybe identify priorities that we haven't thought of. And then just kind of get some input from you on where we should start going from here, potentially some identify any team roles if we get to that in this conversation today. And then just next steps on how to move forward, like maybe setting up a potentially a standing meeting that's like every other Saturday or something like that, whatever seems to work best for everyone. Um, so I guess maybe I can start off with introducing myself because I really only know Trebi and Polly. So I actually, I guess just to kind of give you a background, my professional background is conservation in Hawaii, and we are known as the endangered species capital of the world. So I've been really intimate with a lot of grief of loss of, native species where, we've got so many endangered and extinct species here. I currently work with doing monk seal and Hawaiian monk seal and sea turtle research programs that we constantly see like human killings, hooks from seal fishermen, a lot of human impacts, and but on another side of that, through my work, I've had this really great privilege to go out to Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, which is actually a World Heritage Site, and it's a chain of islands northwest of the more main inhabited Hawaiian Islands. And it is a great privilege to be there. You have to have research permits to get out there. And I lived out there for like 3 months at a time, several field seasons with 2 to 3 other people. We had no contact with the rest of the world when I first started going out, like basically zero, other than a little short texting. So very immersed in wild nature. But even out there, there was massive impacts from humans. Nets, drowning animals, litter all over the beaches, plastics. So it was just really this amazing, you know, on one hand, it was this pristine ecosystem, but on the other hand, the impacts of humans from thousands of miles away was like really prevalent. And in that experience, it really just sort of on a kind of a tangent, it led me eventually to getting a master's degree at Naropa in ecopsychology, and that is where I actually got introduced to the work that reconnects. Um, the work that reconnects to Radical Joy for Hard Times and the Earth Exchange, work that reconnects also. And then Christy actually led the first Global Earth Exchange that I participated in, and it was at the time it was like I was like, oh, this is really interesting, but I don't really think it's gonna, I don't have a connection to this place. It was in Boulder, Colorado, but it was a very profound, very powerful experience. And I just, since then I started doing Global Earth Exchanges in Hawaii on my own, and eventually became part of the board. I think a couple of my Naropa classmates were on the board at the time, and maybe, kind of connected me with Trebi and the band. And that's kind of my story, and I'm just really excited to be here today. And I have a real strong interest and passion in, um, you know, honoring our pain for the world. And, this organization, I think Trevi's been ahead of her time in starting this organization, and I really hope to see it moving forward. And I don't know, Trevi, you want to go next? I mean, everybody probably, well, maybe not everybody knows you, but
I don't know Jeffrey. I know Jay a little bit, but
and I
the
guess
rest
we don't
of us
necessarily
doesn't.
know our European members who may be watching either. So,
Um, well, I created Radical Joy for Hard Times in 2009 after spending many, many years trying to figure out a way of giving back to places that are hurt and reconnecting with them. And it's just felt like it's felt over the last 3 or 4 years that it's just time to move on. I've been a writer longer than I've been anything else, and more consistently than I've been anything else. And I am just adamant that I'm not retiring. I'm going to continue doing this work because I feel it is a real calling. I've always said that creating a way to find and make beauty in hurt places wasn't a good idea. It was just like, it was what I'm supposed to do. It was what the earth wanted me to do. It's what it feels like. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm just not going to be the administrator anymore. And it's wonderful that Elizabeth is interested in taking that over. And I just want to say, I'm just so thrilled that Jay and Christy and Jeffrey have said yes to this invitation, and that you three are the ones that are going to be working with this. It feels like such a privilege. So thank you. And I'm going to pass this on to Jay.
I think that the actual band should introduce themselves first.
All right.
Before.
I pass this to Polly.
Yeah.
I sit corrected.
Thank you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was a psychotherapist, a traditional old listen to people talk psychotherapist, until I went to the rainforest in Ecuador in 2007. And I would say that got me a hit of the pain for the earth in a way that I couldn't forget. And my husband and I both stopped being psychotherapists 2 years later, having met Joanna Macy and done a couple of work that reconnects deep intensives. And then I met Trebi in 2015 through a friend. And she invited me to be part of the band. And in my inimitable way, I said, no, 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 yes. So I've been on the band ever since. And I guess I'm going to stay with it. I don't really know. I'm older than anybody in this group. And I guess that's all I have to say. I've been doing well. I mostly live outside of Woodstock, New York, and we have a group of about 11 people who have been doing the Earth Exchange every year since 2015. And that's been it's turned into a nice little cohort of people. We only meet as that group once a year. And also I organized the 100th year anniversary of the watershed that feeds New York, the Ashokan Reservoir, and Trebi and I organized a raise a glass to the Catskills, and walked around New York City and asked people if they knew where their water was coming from, and took pictures of them holding a glass and made a little book out of it. And that was a lot of fun. That was in 2017. Okay, that's me. Jeffrey?
Yeah, sure. And Trebi, we did meet in 2019 in San Rafael,
Okay.
and that seems like a long time ago with the pandemic being stuck in the middle there.
Yeah.
So I've known Polly for about 16 years.
Wow.
And Polly was part of the Binders board for a while. I've been with Binders for 25 years.
Hmm.
And I have met the founders of Binders 10 years before that. So I've been linked for 35 years. Michelle Katz, who I believe is an acquaintance of yours, she rented an office from Pioneers for a while. Well, her educational, the Coop Consulting.
Yeah, I know Michelle.
So Michelle and I, and so Michelle was in our office when Trebi and Polly came to the conference to do your work outside. So Michelle actually told me, I knew Polly was great, but then she told me, Trebi, how great you were. So I got that secondhand but we did meet for a minute. I'm the vice president of Pioneers. And so I just have such respect for Polly, and Polly had the idea that I might be able to help with the transition. Pioneers we seem like a very big company. In some ways, our reach is very big, but we were only 20 people on staff, which is considered small in the nonprofit world. And and I've been through some internal transitions, especially with leadership. And Polly was part of some of that. She saw some of the inner workings of Bioneers for some time. And so I played a lot of different roles as Bioneers. When I came on to Bioneers, there were 7 people on staff.
Wow.
And so it's, and we, 10 years ago, we decided rather than having full-time staff positions for certain roles, especially production, we decided to hire fully professional contract positions. And so it turned, sometimes, they were like, we have to find things for these people to do in the off season when the Bioneers conference. We were using an amazing production company. And that really is a big shift, and it might be something that we can talk about how we, it's a real tight dance, the difference between contract and payroll. But anyway, I've been deeply embedded in the nonprofit world for 25 years, and it's nonprofit world is challenging, and I know transitions are challenging. And so Trevi, I'm very happy. I was reading through the notes again today, and I had, I'd taken home and I spoke to my wife a little bit about what this might be about. And in my mind was like, well, I said to her even before I left the home this earlier, Trevi's retiring. But then I realized when I read your notes, Trevi's just stepping down as ED. And so I'm glad you said that at the beginning of this, that you still want to be involved, because I know, to me, the, activism on whatever scale, I think it's very, it's just so important. And when you see the political things happening, we have to give it our all. So that's me. I'll pass it on to Jay.
It looks like it's cold there, Jay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jay. I'm in Australia on the Sunshine Coast, the East Coast, the lands of the Kabi Kabi people. And I guide forest therapy walks. I'm doing one this morning, so I'm doing this before I'm there, but I'm going to be doing it here, in this forest park along the creek line. So my background's, I'm a forest therapy guide and a science communicator and educator, and I feel very small and young here, and really grateful. I just have heaps of respect and gratitude to Trevi for the whole thing. When I first found out about Radical Joy for Hard Times a few years ago, and just went, wow, yeah. How do we gravitate towards that more? And I definitely have that feeling as well of doing what I can to sit back and let the earth speak through me, and come through us and show us what needs to be done, and what practices, and forest therapy is very much about practices that are reweaving our connection to nature and developing our relationships with place. And there's an interesting line around colonization as well around here, learning from Indigenous people without appropriating, recognizing that all our ancestors have these practices and grief practices and ceremonies and rituals that can be elaborate and simple, that we can sort of draw on but create new ones for who we are now, and who we are without taking from other people's cultures. And I really enjoyed coming to Earth Hospice Rights. I found what Trevi and Alison do in 20 minutes is amazing. And I love Harry's, the cafe series. Just Harry's welcome each time into the cafe of hanging out with great people in a beautiful place and hearing wonderful ideas. I think there's just juicy and yummy. So I'm here to see how I can help and how I can learn from these wise elders that I get to meet. Thank you. And I'll pass. Now it says wilderness guides, but I think it was Christy.
Memory. Yes, I am now settled here, and it's wonderful to meet you, Jay and Jeffrey and Polly. We may have met here and there,
I think so.
but what's really true for me in this exact moment is the story of uh, leading that Earth Exchange with Elizabeth, and now here we are in this circle, and it's making me. And then I'm hearing the connections with all of y'all in these various ways, and it's making me think of like how a seed is planted in one place and something unexpected emerges at another time, and maybe in ways that we never see. And I feel like but we get to see this one, the seed that was planted at Naropa, luckily we get to see how this is sprouting. And so my commitment and dedication to Radical Joy for Hard Times is for that vision to continue to spread seeds that will sprout for generations to come. And it was a privilege and an honor to be part of that first band with Trevi when we named it the band, and we said, no, a board isn't a board. And I think it was Noah that said, no, a board is too, we need to be a band, a band of, creatives and a band of people banding with the earth. So yeah, I was honored to be part of that transition into the birth as part of that birthing time. And here's a new spin of the wheel and a new emergence and some letting go and some new life coming. And it's just an honor and a privilege to be here in this moment. And it's like, of course, when I got your email, it's like, of course, I will be here and be part of this and see what seeds we will plant for those future generations of this way, which is a good way of being in these times of profound change and loss and unknowns. So I'm here for it. I've known Trevi for a while, and I don't know how long, but long enough to just say that if anything she needs, I'm there. So and anything she loves, I'm gonna probably love a lot. So that's the best way to introduce myself at this moment. I'll say one more. Wyatt said Wilderness Guides. I'm the co-net keeper, which is the way we say executive director because we want to decolonize all of that. So we call it net keeper. And for that nonprofit, which Michelle Katz is a part of, and all of our rites of passage colleagues. So I have a little sense of nonprofit management and all of that, but always trying to look at it from out of the box perspective as much as I can. So that's me to start. Nice to meet you all. And was that everybody?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Pass it back to you, Elizabeth.
Liz, you're muted, Liz.
Really?
Yep.
I was just going to say, I feel compelled to share just a little bit about how I feel like we arrived here. Is there was a point in time where we talked about incorporating Radical Joy into another organization. And I think this maybe it was when you were thinking of, stepping down as the executive director. I can't even remember. It was a few years ago. And then we ended up kind of, when Trevi did decide, she kind of had a timeline in mind of when she wanted to step down as the executive director. We thought about, putting me in that role. And then I think we all just felt like the energy just wasn't there to do what we needed to do to keep the organization as it was with me replacing Trevi. in the timeline that we had, I think it just realistically, we just didn't think it would work, or the energy just wasn't there, I would say, in a certain sense, even though I was really excited about that possibility. And then at one point we decided to just close the organization down. And I just, that was not something that I felt good about. And I just had this thought one day, I think it was just me and Trebby were talking, is like, could we just keep it going just as the Global Earth Exchange, a once a year event, just keep it really bare bones. But then from that, I love what Trebby said in that document. She said something like, I had it highlighted, I can't remember what it was. It's a both smaller and larger organization, because then we started getting really excited about talking about, doing classes and just, I think at one point we were even talking about, well, we still are, like, that's something I really want to do, is like partner up with other organizations. And I know Trebby's done some of that already, but just sort of expand on that, and just really networking and connecting with other groups and people that are doing similar things. And just, so that's like, kind of just expanding the web of this organization, but still having that Global Earth Exchange every year, and so it isn't like we're shrinking in a sense, we're just expanding in a different way, I think. Like Trebby said, we're both smaller and larger in the future. And that's sort of how we ended up here. And then we were, really, I think Trebby, I won't speak for her, but I think she was really happy about that, because this is very meaningful. Like Trebby, you said, it's your purpose in life. And I feel like it's in a certain way mine as well. And I just really want to do everything that I can to see this go in, whatever direction it goes. We're planting the seeds right now, and just letting go of the attachments and see what sprouts. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I don't know, Trebby, do you want to say anything? I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have any
No.
words to share? Just sort of.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think something that has been my vision from the very start, and I think it's been the vision of a lot of the members, and especially band members from the very start, is how do you make the practice of finding and making beauty in hurt places like a regular thing, like you pick up litter, like just like you go out and watch the sunrise sometimes, you honor the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. So like, how does this become a practice? And so that's what we mean by saying we want the organization to become bigger. Like, we want it to become less like, not having, like, as on the Global Earth Exchange, people reporting in and sending photos and stories when they do something, but just they do something when they do it. And I'm often running into people who say, oh, I do that, and I do this, and I do this for my walk, and I do this and that and the other thing. And I'm always saying, well, tell us the story, send me the story. But that's what we want. And so that's the goal of Radical Joy for Hard Times in the future, is like, let's really figure out a way to seed the importance, the urgency, the beauty, the connection, the creativity of how this simple practice really works and really transforms the way people feel about their place.
Thank you, Trebby. Other thoughts or comments? I think for me, sort of on that note too, I've realized how, we are a very grief illiterate society, and I think it has been hard sometimes to get people to join when I've done a Global Earth Exchange. And I think that's one of the things that I'd like to see us do also, is kind of like in this context of how important it is to honor our pain for the world, and how healing it can be. Just when we don't do these practices, or when we do them, they actually open up our eyes into a different way of living and experiencing the whole array of human emotion. And that's kind of maybe where some of the, the direction of some of the classes and things go into too, for me. just making it normal, like Trevi said, that this is, just becomes something that people do. So I think, unless Polly, want to add anything, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, I think the next thing would be to kind of share with you guys what we have identified as priorities. And I think this isn't necessarily in order of importance, but I think one of the biggest challenges we have right now is our band is basically coming to an end at the end of the year, right when Trebi's stepping down as the executive director. So we really need to find and secure a really active board. I think that's a big thing that we need to before we can do anything really. And then also, along those lines, fundraising, Trebi has a good handle on what we need for a bare bones organization, finances, but what, we need to have some funding coming in somehow. And as Trevi mentioned in that document, I think 2 of our bigger regular donors are stepping down. So that is another challenge that whether there was change or not, that was going to be a challenge for us. And then the other thing is just, developing this vision of going forward, like being more, getting a little more clarity and steps, to get there, just on, the classes and the networking with other organizations and people. And so those are the 3 things that we have identified. I'm sure there's other things, I wouldn't be surprised if there's other things that we haven't thought of that you guys could maybe not necessarily today, but think about and help support us in that. And just also, how do we build this band and find people and recruit people and that kind of thing.
And I would really invite our transition team to really be actively looking for holes in what we say. What are we missing? What have we not thought of? What have we overlooked? In naming priorities and wishes and visions, what's missing? What stands out for you? So don't just rely on what we're putting out there as being the topics of conversation and the subjects of change. We really, really want to rely on your experience and creativity.
Yeah, I'd also like to just add that one of the challenges of being on the band this last iteration has been that we had Elizabeth in Hawaii and Harriet in England. And so finding a time when we could all meet was really challenging. And now we have the idea of a European contingent, like a European band, and I don't know what we are, a Trans-Pacific band. And I'm not sure how that all works, but that's just logistically, it's been very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Just to help me ground a little bit. So, Elizabeth, can you describe your role then going forward? I mean, is this a position that is paid and is funded, and that we want to continue to, that's part of the fundraising, is making sure that continues. And so it's, you're stepping in a different way than, as you described it, that impossible task where you can't replace Trevi. But so I'd like to understand your role a little bit better as I'm visioning.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, I don't know that I have a full answer for that, but because we're trying to figure that out. But yeah, what we're seeing is that I would get a stipend, like a yearly stipend. And originally, that was like with that original concept of just, we'll keep the Global Earth Exchange going. It was, just, Trevi sends out a weekly letter. I wouldn't be doing that, just really bare bones, probably some communication. But mostly it was just going to be managing whatever finances we have and keeping track of all the members and and then doing the Global Earth Exchange, coordinating that and posting things on the website. But as we are talking, and expanding, I really see a part of what I would like to do is really connect with other organizations and people, so that we can work together and expand this network. But that is really what's in my mind. If Trebi, if I've missed anything that we've talked about, please contribute. And then part of it is just like, I'm not really sure because we're trying to figure out what we're really doing, but that was sort of the initial thought, was just me, just managing the money, and then coordinating the event every year and whatever that entails.
Right, but we haven't come up with any numbers in terms of what a stipend would look like. I mean, this has been a bare bones operation from the beginning. Trebi
Right.
has lived on a very small salary plus her Social Security. So, and Elizabeth has a full-time job. So that's a whole different story, because she has less time, God knows. But also perhaps you don't need as much income. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I imagine that part of it is ensuring that there is a band and that you're nonprofit compliant and all,
Yeah.
that there's somebody
Yeah.
just kind of tracking those, paperworks and things like
Yep.
that, or having the band do it, but that it's happening and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I really would hope that we can find a very active band, that can help with a lot of that stuff too, that help in whatever way we need help. So that's kind of where we're at. Really good question.
And when you were looking at possibly joining a different company, or did you pursue anybody, or the local foundation or anything? Did anything move with that, or did you just say that you wanted to still stand alone?
Do you mean when I mentioned that at one point we talked about kind of bringing
Yeah.
Radical Joy under another organization?
Yeah.
I don't really remember our thought process of how we ended up not doing that. I don't remember. I don't know if Trebi or Polly remembers where we ended up with that.
We
don't remember
talked
the
about
detail.
having it be part of the work that reconnects, I believe, in Pachamama Alliance, and Polly was pursuing that, but nothing really came of it. And
Yeah, I don't remember why
there
we.
wasn't really a response.
Sure.
I don't think I
don't think
pursued
those
it very actively, to tell you the truth.
Do you think that's a good idea, Jeffrey?
Well, this if a local, say, community foundation could embrace this, that can be a very healthy thing to do. It could also have the risk of that you would lose your autonomy, and so your fundraising needs are actually very low for the nonprofit world. It's
Very.
Very.
but one thing I've seen in nonprofit world, when you rely on volunteers and non-paid people, it becomes unreliable, and
Yep.
so you really want to put, it's one reason that you do want to pay people.
Mhm.
It really brings consistency, and so that's a that's a risk of growing a company. But there are, it just makes me think of a community foundation that is looking for something more hands-on in the community, in a community. Because I do think that that's something people look for. It's like they want some sort of active community engagement, and this whole concept is place-based, right? It's but it really does take meeting the right person or the right community foundation. And because you're so widespread, you're small, but you're widespread. If you commit to something in Hawaii, what does that mean for the New York area?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was going to ask you that because that is, we are a global community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many members do we have, Trevi?
oh, I think there's about 1,800 now.
I mean, it's not a membership organization though,
Yeah.
it's like anybody pays dues. So I'm not sure exactly what membership means, but.
Well, you're a member you're a member if you subscribe to Radical Joy Revealed. You're a member if you do the Global Earth Exchange or if you've participated in one of our other programs. You're a member if you've taken a workshop, by Harry or me or Liz or anybody. It's like if you've participated in something, you're on the mailing list and you're a member. We tried being a membership organization for about 11 months, and then figuring out when people's membership had expired and getting them to renew was just like too much, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay more for somebody to manage that
Yeah,
in some
yeah.
cases.
And it was me, and it's not the kind of thing that makes me happy to do.
Yeah.
Are we having general question time now, or did you want to get to something? Because I have
Yes.
another question around where it's going, and I think that in Trebi, in your little document, you're talking about like the whole idea of the RadJoy or the Global Earth Exchange 5-step thing is so simple and adaptable, and people do it how they want. And it sort of fits under a big umbrella. And I feel like that may be at classes in how to do it well. And or is that a way of raising money, of having sort of certified people who run it and are a little bit more fleshed out in the understanding of the background behind it, and so can facilitate that with some degree of quality, integrity to the initial process. And I see that that's kind of like a are we going this way or that way? That, to me, that's a bit of a diversion, and I see the benefits of both, but that would inform where we go next, I think.
Yeah, the idea is that there would, and that's what Liz and Harry have been working on, that there would be trainings for people, but that would not, it's not an either or. I don't think they are two divergent paths. Anybody could do the RadJoy practice at any time they want, in whatever way they want. As we always say, the only two real requirements is you go to the place and you make a gift of beauty. Anything else is up to you. But by having people who, just the way you outlined it, who have some sort of sense of where we came from, why each of the different steps matters, why it's important, how to invite people, it would, we think, give it a kind of a credibility and maybe a professionalism that it hasn't had before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And then I see that as, like, to me, the 18,000 people or 1,800 people you describe are like subscribers, but there's like a second tier of like members or who could be part of the organization a little bit with a bit more buy-in, because they're also people who can speak for the organization in some way.
I think that's
Is that
really interesting idea. And I mean, so I'm ostensibly a trainer for the work that reconnects, but I haven't done any of those programs for a long time. And, this could be a training under that. I mean, this could be like that, not that it would be under the work that reconnects, but we could have a training module, and all of us who've been doing it for a number of years could advertise that.
Yeah, and sorry, are you done, Holly?
Yeah, I am.
Holly, Holly. Howell, I put your two names together. Yeah, I see it also as, you know, some people might not have the confidence to go out and do something like that, but having that training just helps them build a little bit of skills that they wouldn't necessarily have. So I like Trebi, it's not like one or the other. It's still completely adaptable, flexible. But this is just an opportunity for people who want to go a little deeper and have, you know, build a little more skill set that they maybe don't have or want to learn. And yeah, I think, Polly, you're right. Like even the work that reconnects, you don't have to, although they might be getting a little tighter on that now, but it's a, you know, sort of an open source work that anyone can just go and buy the book and like lead work that reconnects. But there's also facilitator training, which I just completed. You know, it's not, it's and not one or the other, I think.
I mean, I think our image was that this organization would grow, the new organization would grow other feet. Like I'm seeing it as a centipede as opposed to a two-legged creature.
Hmm.
But that
Yeah.
means people have to step up and say, I want to be one of those feet. And you know, I mean, truthfully, Trebi, your leadership has been so profound and you've done so much that it hasn't always felt like there's room for other feet. To me.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway. And that's part of what I think is going to change if you aren't doing as much.
Mhm.
And I think what actually gave me the thought of like, could we just keep the organization with the Global Earth Exchange and not close it down, was because I took this ecotherapy training at a Pacifica University, and Trebi was one of they had guest speakers every week. And so many of the people that I connected with, you know, they just were really like what Trebi's doing. That was one of the highlights for them of that course. And so that's when I was just like, this organization can't go away. And so I just, you know, yeah, she was ahead of her time, and this is the time we need it now more than ever, I think. And
And where did you do the ecotherapy course?
it was
Oh,
at
I just
Pacific.
online. Oh, I'm sorry, Liz.
Oh, yeah, it was at Pacifica University, right?
Pacifica.
Pacifica grad. What is it? Pacifica
Pacifica
The
Grad
graduate
Center.
institute.
graduate.
When was that?
Oh, the fall.
Last
Was it the
year.
fall?
Oh, just
Yeah.
last year, in 2023.
3. Mhm.
Last fall. Yeah.
I think so. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it was.
Yeah, I mean, Pacifica is the kind of place that,
Yeah.
you know, that is a good umbrella for work like this.
Yeah. But I think that's where, you know, I'm sort of reaching in both directions. Like, what does this look like without Trebi being in that major role? But also, what would it look like? What would it look like if you were trying to grow it? And I think we just have, you know, it's like a time. It is a time to be careful, and to say, what is the, you know, that's why the simple. I think Jay, you were talking about the simple parts to this. Keep it simple, and then see what you know, a year from now, some other time, or a year from December, after you've got some momentum, I think, Elizabeth, behind you, that to see what it looks like. Because if you go wider too fast, then I think it has the potential to have to be more than your scope, right? More than what you can do.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
if we're struggling to have people to do the work that already exists, and from that list in the document, it seemed like not that much is being put down,
Yeah.
except that there's less time devoted to it. What is the best like what's the first thing, and having it narrow, and then if we can do that, then can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? That kind of possibly, I mean, what comes to mind at the moment is perhaps just having that kind of strategy. And Trebi, you've done so many talks to so many different people, and we've got this big newsletter subscriber list, is developing those relationships more strategically, stronger, so that at many things people feel enabled to give a 5-minute chat about RadJoy at the end of a cleanup day or at the end of all these things, so that it just becomes this, what I'm thinking, a hashtag rather than a website, that it becomes sort of more out there rather than it has to be part of this thing. But then, but how do you enable people to feel like that could be more evenly distributed is something like courses. So that's kind of, I'm imagining all these things and thinking it's great, but how do you do all of that with less people and less money? Where do we put the focus first? That's where I'm feeling caught.
Yeah, I think that
I like the hashtag idea.
Yeah, me too. A hashtag rather than a website. It's really, it's kind of a good, kind of a good meme unto itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people like the name Radical Joy. That's my experience, is that, oh, wow, we need that. Right?
Yeah.
I think one maybe immediate opportunity. So you have 1,800 people who are on your email list. If they each gave $25, there's your $45,000 budget. And the concept to me would be, we're in a transition. We're trying to trying to find one year as we understand what it looks like. And everybody won't do it. So it's, what came up for me was, it looks like you have charged for some. So I saw something was $125 fee. Most of your things are free. And what I know, if people are getting it for free already, they don't want to start paying for it. So we don't want to say, hey, all these, the newsletter has to be there's a subscriber fee. People don't respond to that, but they would respond to maybe paying more than the $125 for the things that, for anything you are charging for. But that, as we're talking, it's like the people who are getting your emails, those people are invested. Like, people unsubscribe if they don't want your email. They just stop. Right. They don't stay on your list. So they, and it could be the case to say, we want, 1 year of funding would help us, but also that's your pool of people who might be more invested. And
I like that idea. I mean, you wouldn't get 1,800 people giving $25, but you might get 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you might get one person giving $1,000 and 1,000 people giving 20. You're gonna end. Yeah. I mean, we could even tie it to the 11,000 that you're that's fun. But I think your budget of 45,000 is low for sustainability of any company.
Yeah, it is.
I think that. So, I mean, there are platforms. There's like Indiegogo, and there's one. The GoFundMe, they can be helpful. There are fees related. There are some that you only receive the funding, but you in order to manage that, you really have to be paying somebody to do it, really.
Yeah, you do.
Like somebody to help Elizabeth.
But you know what's pardon? I was just going to say, what's appealing about that idea of asking everyone to help us with the transition.
Yeah.
It's just like, it automatically invites a bigger participation.
Yeah.
It's like, help us do this. And by helping us do it, you become a bigger part of it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. And they're invested already. Somehow they've engaged with this. And then you got people share, it ends up on people's social media, the hashtag, all that stuff, involve your friends and all that. I mean, this is the new grassroots. It's not going to people's houses. It's going to people's email boxes.
I I just want to say we have just a little over 5 minutes, and I do want to respect everyone's time. So, I don't know what would, do we want to set up the next meeting now while we're all in the same room, so to speak? Or would it do a doodle poll? For me, it seems like it would be the ideal, but I know that may not work. If we could try to just keep us standing like every other Saturday at this time, that way we can plan out. But does that not work for everyone? I mean, I guess the next one would be, we could just start there, I guess.
Next one would be the 27th, and I'm having an 80th birthday party that day.
80th birthday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Ah,
That would be the perfect time to have a transition meeting.
Oh, yeah, right. I would just love that. That'd be great.
What about either the 3rd or the other one option would be next Saturday?
Well, I'm going to be away from the 1st to the 16th, guiding a
Okay.
program. So
I could do it next Saturday, the 20th.
I could do it next Saturday as well.
Is anyone not able to do it next Saturday?
I can't, sorry.
So there you go. That doesn't work.
It's
So we
gonna
might
You
just-
can meet without me. If there's
Yeah, we
if
might-
there is
No,
a
no,
European
no.
group, perhaps
No.
I can join them. I'm not sure how that's working. But
No,
No, you're part of this one, please.
okay.
don't change our plans.
No, you may not leave, Jay. You may not leave.
Sorry, Jay, you're in for.
Yeah, you
life.
can't leave, but there is it sounds like there's a little challenge of the next 3 Saturdays. There's always going to be one person not available.
I think personally, I recommend having a time schedule and sticking to it. And sometimes somebody won't be.
Yeah,
able
we'll record it.
It's
But
fine.
we-
Okay,
well,
so I
but we
just won't
go.
be there on the 27th. That's
Okay. So we'll do that, and I'll send an invite.
Oh, you can watch the recording, Polly.
Yeah, we'll
That's good. I appreciate that.
And the middle of August, I have an issue. So I think that would be the next. Well, if we do the 27th, then it's the 10th. I can do the 10th of August,
Okay.
but anyway, good.
I can do
I
that.
before we close, I just want to put it out there for contemplation in the next couple of weeks. And it really picks up on where Jeffrey was going, is that as I'm listening, I'm like, what is the potent possibility in this moment? That was just kind of coming to me. And, one of it is, this fundraising to support for the next year. But I just wonder if there's something about Radical Joy for Hard Times as that daily practice that, I don't know, that there's something potent and possible that is a message and ceremony. Like I'm assuming there's going to be ceremony around this transition, and that larger, other parts of the community invited into that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to put those words in the circle: potent possibility of moment of transition
Oh, thank
and
you.
That's
ceremony.
great.
Great.
The other thing off of that is I have a friend that we've been texting each other every day, like a glimmer that we see, and when you said that as a daily practice, it kind of led me when I took over for Trebi to post all the stories this year, and it was just so like to read those stories was just like, wow. And I thought, wow, it would be great if we could partner people up to read each other's stories. And Trebi said they'd actually done that before, but there's something there about connecting and sharing story and daily practice. And I don't know, just there's because that partnering that I've been doing with my friend has just been, it's a different practice, but it's just so meaningful in that community. Like we're reminding each other to find a glimmer every day. And
So is that every day, Liz?
yeah, we're doing it every day
Oh
for
my
like a
God.
week
So
now,
when
maybe
Trevi
over.
and I have been meeting every Monday, we start our phone call with, what's your magic for this week?
Mm.
So it's sort of the
Nice.
same thing.
Yeah,
right?
it is
Little bit.
much. Well,
Very
so
good.
I think these are really good streams to put our attention on. So like Jeffrey's idea about inviting this general fundraiser for a small amount and give more if you want. And then the idea of like, what kind of ceremony do we want to do about this transition? So it's not about me leaving. It's about
Yeah.
the group coming and participating and creating. And I think both of those are super ideas, and they're there are ways of activating what we want to do in kind of like one fell swoop,
Yeah,
two fell swoops.
I think that, you know, you were talking about an active board and now activation, like, I think that
Hmm.
that's one of the, you know, through lines in what could be the future, you know, how to have activity, activation.
I like these words, potent, possibility, and activation.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly on the hour. Well, thank you all so
Very
much.
good.
It was wonderful to
what
meet
a
you all.
potent active group.
Yeah.
Hooray. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Nice to meet you all.
you.
Nice to
Yeah.
meet you. I'll
You.
see you next week.
All right. Bye,
Take
Polly.
care.
Not
Bye.
next week. Not next
Not Polly.
Happy
2 weeks.
Next
birthday,
fort-
Polly.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Bye.
look at that.
Happy birthday.
Who did that? Who did that?
You did it.
I
don't
did
remember
not.
how it's
I said
done.
happy birthday. Did that? No, it didn't.
Who did
That's
it?
really
Magic.
wild.
Wow.
That was cool.
Wow. Magic. Talk about magic. Yep.
Yeah.
Remember how to do it. Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
All right.
Take care.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.